Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Be the Media at Huntington. Tonight is Wednesday, June 5th, and my name is Jenny Lee. And tonight I have with me. No, Lisa's running a little late, and I left the room open. So when the girls get here, they get here. But since we've been down for the last 2 weeks, we just knew we had to bring you this the show tonight, especially since we did want to cover the town board meeting that happened on May 29th, and it was a doozy. It was a 5-hour and 47-minute meeting, and I took all sorts of notes for you guys. But first, I wanted to cover a few other things before I get into that, because that's going to take up the greater portion of what we're going to be doing here tonight. So the first thing that I wanted to highlight and bring to everyone's attention tonight was the report that came out about Long Island and our water. Report Long Island has the most contaminated water in New York. No surprise. We've been warning about this for a very long time now. This just came out on May 30th. And Long Island's water has the highest levels of certain dangerous chemicals in the entire state, according to a recent report from the New York Public Interest Research Group. By reviewing all this data, we found that 176 water systems detected one or more emerging contaminants, which impact 16 million New Yorkers, says Liz Moran, director of NYPIRG, Environmental Policy. Among the contaminants is 1,4-dioxane, a chemical found in many common household products. The compound is suspected of causing cancer and other health issues. This goes on, talks about Adrienne Esposito, who, I'm sorry, she's just an environmentalist who has been involved in politics too long. So she's, you know. But according to the report, Hicksville, Green Lawn, Hempstead, and municipalities serviced by the Suffolk Water Authority are just some of the places with the highest levels of contaminants. Let's go down to Chad. And Huntington Town Supervisor Chad Lupinacci said the report is alarming, not only for Green Lawn residents, but for all residents in the town of Huntington. We filed a civil suit against the entities responsible for the 1,4-dioxane contamination on May 20th to hold them accountable for the costs of removing 1,4-dioxane from our local water supply. So apparently they know where it's coming from. Okay. Also, there was some farmers market drama. Apparently, there's rumors going on to the point where the town of Huntington felt that they needed to put out a press release about the director of the farmers market that happens in the village, because I guess the show did not go on, and the farmers, a couple of vendors were left out. And let me just find this real quick. But it was kind of interesting because you can almost see the emotion in the press release here. Here, let me share this one with you. Dispelling false rumors regarding the Long Island Growers Market. While the market was light on vendors on June 2nd, this had nothing to do with anything the town did or didn't do. There were 3 vendors that were not included in the June 2nd market simply because Ethel Terry, coordinator of the Long Island Growers Market, did not get these vendors' insurance submitted prior to the deadline for the submission on the site plan on May 17th. So this is really, they go on and they talk about the rules and everything else. The allegation that the woman who runs the market knows all of this is true because she works for the town is preposterous. Ms. Terry is not a town employee. The truth here simply is that Ms. Terry is not doing her job. By the time she comes back from South Carolina in May, it's tough to get the market up and running the opening day, the first Sunday in June. Rather than take the blame squarely where it belongs on herself, Ms. Terry once again chose to blame the town, spreading wildly false rumors. So who knows what's going on with that, but a little bit of drama that was going on. And then on a more serious note, let me get to this article first. This was actually horrible, what happened, and it shows we still have a long way to go in Huntington in fixing a lot of our crime and issues. Huntington station man pleads guilty to sex assault, Suffolk DA says. Daniel Adam, 19, of Huntington Station, is expected to get 15 years in prison and 20 years of supervision after he gets out. And this came out on May 30th also. A Huntington Station man pled guilty Wednesday to sexually assaulting a 16-year-old girl last fall in downtown Huntington, a random attack that was caught on government-owned and operated surveillance cameras, authorities said. Daniel Adam, 19, pled guilty to first-degree criminal sexual act, first-degree attempted criminal sexual act, 2 counts of first-degree sexual abuse, all felonies, and 2 counts of endangering the welfare of a child, a misdemeanor, Suffolk County District Attorney Timothy Sinney's office said in a news release. The teenager was walking with a female friend, also 16, at about 1 a.m. on November 11th after being dropped off in the parking lot behind a Panera Bread restaurant, officials said. The girls saw the suspect exposing himself on Main Street and, concerned for their safety, began to move quickly, turning onto the more secluded Prospect Street. So this is all in the Village, police said. Adam caught up with them and punched the victim in the face, police said. Once she was knocked to the ground, he held her down and sexually assaulted her. Police said the friend went to get help. This kind of sexual attack on a stranger is extremely rare, but even more so disturbing, Sinney said in the release issued Wednesday. Surveillance video was critically important to solving this case, along with excellent police work. Police said the victim provided detectives with a detailed description of the attacker. The assault was recorded by Huntington Village surveillance cameras, which also filmed Adam's car, a white Honda Civic with a black racing stripe, driving away, authorities said. Adam is scheduled to appear before State Supreme Court Justice Karen Wilitis in Riverhead on July 2nd for sentencing, Sinney's office said. The judge is expected to sentence Adam to 15 years in prison and 20 years of supervision after he is released, according to Sinney's office. The maximum sentence Adam could have faced was 25 years in prison. So just wanted to highlight a few things before we started to cover the town board meeting. So we had a town board meeting on May 30th. A lot went on May 30th. I believe it was the 29th. And Stacy Colamusi was standing in for Joanne Brea as the deputy town clerk. This was an extremely long town board meeting. I cannot stress to you how long it was, 5 hours and 47 minutes. Public hearing number 1 wasn't too much going on. Public hearing number 2, they started discussing a 40-year lease from Woodbine Marina to the incorporated village of Northport. And this became a huge topic of contention. A lot of people spoke out about this. They don't want the government involved in the marina business, period, point blank. They feel that there's enough private businesses that are running marinas around in this area that they don't need the village of Northport to be running it. There was also a lot of points as how we're basically pillaging the village yet again. So Stephen Pelagrosi, he was opposed. He said that there's pending litigation, according to an article in the Northport Observer just last week. And he also said that we've been collecting $140,000 per year in rent, and now we want to give it to the village of Northport for $75,000 a year, which is almost half of what we could get from a private small business. It's a huge loss of income for us. Northport is having a parking issue from what I was able to deduce. They all kept talking about this major parking issue. And hi, Lisa. Yay,
Hi.
you made it. Lisa, I already covered a couple of things, but I am on public hearing number 2 for the town board meeting.
Excellent.
So let me catch you up to speed real quick. Public hearing number two was about a 40-year lease from Woodbine Marina, because the town of Huntington would control the property there, and leasing it instead of to a private marina to the incorporated village of Northport, and at a $75,000 roughly a year loss. Okay, so Northport's totally having parking issues. Copenhagen Bakery, apparently, from what people were saying, is taking up a lot of the parking. David Weber, the owner of Seymour's Boatyard, he gave really good testimony. He said the town of Huntington should not be in the marina business, that when we have established businesses already doing this, it's the town of Huntington giving away a prime piece of realty. Northport Village wants it for parking, is basically what he had said. So this first hearing went about 43 minutes into the town board meeting, and that was after they didn't give as many citations as they usually do. They really didn't. This was a very long public hearing. So how do you feel about, the marina being run by the Village of Northport instead of having private businesses be able to run the marina areas like Seymour's? I mean, this would really hurt Seymour's too.
Yeah, I was just down in Northport the other day. My daughter works down there as well. And, I did see that bakery. And I mean, why is it on the marina? It's just too much.
Well, I got to tell you, a lot of the public hearings were really about maritime services issues. And to get some of the men that came out on public record, I mean, these are not your typical suspects. I've never seen some of these people speak on public record ever. And they're not the kind of people you would expect to see speaking on public record. They're just regular people that want to go out every day, and they don't want to be bothered with government intervention. They just want to go to work. They just want to pay their bills. They do not want to have to go to a town board meeting and sit there for 3 hours before they can speak. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's crazy. I don't even know what to say.
So there were a couple of other things that weren't so controversial. Public hearing number 6, though, about no parking signs in Cold Spring Harbor. I had no idea that there was such a parking issue from the overflow of students' cars. And the reason why I was able to deduce is it's really a school district issue that's happening. They don't allow the juniors to park on school grounds anymore. Because of that, the kids are now parking all down Lawrence Hill Road and all off Halyard and all these other residential streets. And it's becoming a dangerous situation for them. So, and I couldn't believe it. Like Cold Spring Harbor, it's just such a sleepy town over there, and they're having major parking issues. So they want to put it there. They were saying, we don't really want these no parking signs, but we don't want them parking here. So the town's only solution is to put in no parking signs unless the school district is going to handle it. Another thing someone was saying that was a big problem, Uber Eats delivery is a big deal over at that school. And because Uber Eats delivery is bringing them like McDonald's and stuff to school, that it's creating another huge traffic situation in the residential area.
Wow.
How blessed do these kids live to be able to just Uber Eats? I have an app. Let me just order McDonald's.
That's hilarious. But you know what? I mean, in my opinion, the town created this mess in the first place by all the overdevelopment. What do you think's going to happen? Everybody has to have a car to get around.
Well, this issue is actually a school board issue because there's plenty of room on the school grounds for the kids to park, but the school district made a decision that the juniors are no longer allowed to use the parking lot at the school. So the town board had said at some point that they're going to go ahead and contact the school district and see what they could do. I don't believe that they voted for the signs yet. They're going to go ahead and put that. This was just a public hearing. They have 90 days to vote on it after the public hearing is held.
I don't understand. If they have the room, then let the students park there and free up all that congestion. What's the issue?
I'm with you.
If they have
why waste money on these signs too?
Exactly. Why, if you have the room, why are you inconveniencing everybody else?
But even if I put in a no parking sign, they're just going to go park somewhere else. So all I am is relocating the problem.
That's what I mean. And now you're inconveniencing everybody else that can't park. People that live. That's stupid. That's just stupid.
Okay, so the next big maritime issue, they're talking about mooring permits. This was a big deal. This probably went on probably over an hour. I mean, you're talking about clammers and fishermen and all these guys. They're even saying, I can't even believe I have to come down here. The old mooring permit plan, they said, was working. I don't know, because I never had anything to do with, I don't own a boat. I'm not one of those people that can own a boat. But from what I understand, from what I learned, listening to all this from the people who do, it doesn't matter how big your boat is. You could have a little dinghy, or you could have a 60-foot yacht, and you're still having the same mooring permit plan. And somebody actually presented a really good solution, but I'll get to that. But somebody brought up that there's a Newsday article that shows how Babylon is handling it differently than raising fees. Right now, they want to raise their fees by $40 for the permit, for the mooring fees. But even more so, apparently boats sink, or they get away out of their mooring and then they sink. And it's a $10,000 fine if your boat sinks. Did you know this? I don't have a boat, so I have no idea.
I saw a boat that looked like it had been on the bottom of some of our waters on a flatbed today, and it had a plastic snowman sticking out of the back of it.
That's
That just
bizarre.
reminded me of that, but it has nothing to do with what you're saying. But no, I had absolutely no idea they charge you $10,000.
$10,000 for boats that sink, I guess. So they'll also now be requiring insurance. And some of the guys brought up really great points about nobody's going to insure his little wood boat. You can't even get insurance for it, but you're requiring me to do so. Meanwhile, the state doesn't even require that boats have insurance, but the town is now going to start requiring it under this new, again, this was just a public hearing. You guys still have time to send your emails over about this, and you should go back and find the hearing if you can't sit through almost 6 hours of town board meeting, which I do for you every month, people. It's awful. Okay.
No, I didn't do it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I do it so you don't have to.
Thank you.
But I'm that freak that watches C-SPAN instead of any other channel. So it was interesting that somebody had said how they will now require insurance, which didn't happen prior, like Obamacare. It's like Obamacare. It's kind of like now there's a law saying that you have to have insurance where you didn't have to before. Somebody had gotten up saying how this hurts poor people, that we have an affordable housing problem, but what about the affordable boating problem? Now boating in the town of Huntington is just becoming something people who are more wealthy can afford. This is a great point. You know, I want my kids to learn how to fish, and I don't have a boat, so I guess I'm not wealthy.
Sounds like a cow. It doesn't seem fair.
It doesn't
Doesn't
seem
seem fair at all.
But somebody had this really excellent suggestion. I think it was Joe Esposito. He's been coming up with the best stuff lately. I covered him. We covered him on our last show. I know we've been gone for a couple of weeks. One of our ladies had some personal things, but we had covered him on one of the zoning board issues for Creekside condos, Crap Creek condos down in Haleside. We had covered him. He just gave some really, really great testimony at that meeting. He's really been showing up a lot lately. So they're only taxing residents. This was what he was pointing out, not out of towners. Like the people with the $2 million yachts, we should tax per foot, not per moor. He said there's a few yachts that come in, and one that he knows of in particular that's a 4-bedroom, 4-bath yacht, and they dump their sewage directly into the bay. That's like me taking my house, I mean, even though I'm not 4-bedroom, 4-bath, I do not have 4 baths. Thank God. I can't keep up with that kind of cleaning. But imagine you have a 4-bedroom, 4-bath home, and you just float it out to the water, and you just flush. They're opening their sewage right out into the bay. Think about that for a second. So he was saying, we're putting an extra fee on clammers or fishermen, and they make their living on the bay. It's they're already strangled with everything else. So, and then my opinion changed a little bit. Dom got up. He's the director of Maritime Services, Dom Spada. He got up. We're now an hour and 34 minutes into the town board meeting. Just so you know, I did keep track of the time as well. He said that this was to create a database to locate owners of boats that get loose. He said, because 9 times out of 10, instead of spending the $10,000 to lift the boat, they'll abandon the boat altogether and not even seek ownership of it. So I guess there's a fine line between having a database, but this guy, Joe Esposito, has such a good point. Why are you going to continue to tax just the residents? What about these people who are coming in from out of town and dumping their raw sewage directly into our bay? That's a huge issue. They should be taxed per foot and not per moor. I think that that's an excellent suggestion. I don't know much about that. I'm not official, but I almost want to write a letter of support for Joe's idea of how they need to tweak that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know much about it either. I don't really follow it because I don't have a boat. I don't live on the water. But yeah, that's a lot to think about. That's a lot to take in. I mean, we are affected though, because, other people are going to be flushing their crap down, the drains. What are we drinking? We're
I covered the water report from the lead.
Oh, before you go into that, when you were talking about Crap Creek condos, I was just passing there the other day, and I was driving down looking at the condos, and I'm sure you noticed, but I don't know if a lot of other people noticed, the first 3 houses right after are all boarded up, and they look burnt. They look burnt, or they're just boarded up for some other reason. What is that all about?
So one of those homes is, I believe Daniel Carpin went off about, it was either Jeff, oh no, it was Jeff Bartels. He went off about one of those homes down there that actually has significance to the African-American community in the town of Huntington, and is a historic house that they have allowed to go into shambles. They have not taken care of it.
They're all boarded up.
Yeah, they've let it go into ill repair. They did not keep it like they did with the Hammond house.
Right. But that made me think, did the town have something to do with the boarding up of those houses because they're going to make more condos? Or is it just a coincidence?
One of the things Daniel Carpin had brought up tonight, there's a lot of illegal lot. See, like it's spent down in that area because that's becoming a huge source of distension right now. The Creekside condos that's on a protected land. It's help me out with the words. It's not marsh. It is protected marshland. Wetlands. Thank you. It's wetlands. Got it. So he had brought up how the developer was acquiring the plot parcels and putting them together, which was illegal, and that the secrets were not being followed through with that. And then, of course, Jeff brought up the other issue in regards to that being a historical home to the African American community in the town of Huntington, that he said was disgraceful that the town had allowed to fall into such a state of disrepair.
Do you know which one? When you're driving past the condos,
he said the first one. The first one coming out, which would be, I guess, right after the helipad.
Okay.
Right.
Wow. Maybe see if I can look into that. Well, that's not good.
People have been asking that we do more on-site stuff, so maybe that's worth to go back down there. I don't know why they like that so much. Okay, so another, again, public hearing number 8, another maritime issue. It's like all maritime. It's about that dredging, the machine dredging. This was a big deal. Everyone's up in arms about the oysters are gone. They bought these machines in, they went too far, they ripped them out, and they did not give them, by hand raking, it gives them more of a chance to recultivate. And they're saying now they have to go to other towns now to make their livings. All right, I wrote down a couple of things that I thought were pertinent of people who spoke during this. There was no notification given. They should have formed a committee with the baymen and the fishermen, and they didn't. They even have a whole policy written about how this should be handled, and they went against their own policy. They're saying that this has been done, the hand raking versus the machine dredging, that
Mhm.
they totally dredged it, has been done since the 17th century. And it's been done like this for a reason, and it's a part of Huntington's history. It's how we basically replant our garden of ocean life, because it's not just the clams, it's not just the oysters, it's all of them. It's the crabs, it's all of it. There's no more oysters in Oyster Bay. We're killing them. So anyways, a lot of people spoke out. I can't even begin to tell you how many baymen came out for this. And when you start seeing the baymen, the everyday workers who they just want to go pull their clan, get their bushel, get their money, and go have a couple of beers down and hang out at the Shamrock. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
do not want to be going to a town board meeting and not be allowed to speak until 2 hours in. It's horrible.
You really opened up my eyes to, I mean, we live on an island, for heaven's sakes. We should be more proactive about, you know, this
Our
stuff.
waterways.
It's definitely eye opening because I mean, when I was a teenager, I dated a lobsterman for a while, and other than that, I really haven't given it much thought about the clams and the oysters and how they're doing it and boats coming in from other places and dumping in our waters, so to speak. I haven't really thought about it.
Did you
Th-
see
That
what I'm
this
going
is
to
a
show?
very
I want to show everybody what Patrick posted today because he's been going around since the water report
Yes, I
came
saw
out.
that too.
I want to show this one. I just want to highlight this. This is not a swamp.
Yeah,
It's not a swamp, but it
that's
looks,
what it looks like.
and it doesn't look good.
No,
It's not
it
pollen.
doesn't.
It's just, it's a natural
What
spring,
is it?
an artisan well. It's not a swamp.
What's in it?
So,
What's going on?
you know, that we've had a lot of rain, and
Yeah, well, the rain isn't killing us. Okay,
but the if
we're
the
not
rain is
drinking.
pushing everything down from the roads of all the extra cars and all the extra dog
Right.
shit, more nitrates, rinse right out. They were blaming the ducks. Remember, they were like, "Oh, there's too much duck poop. That's the nitrogen." I call BS.
Yeah,
It's the amount of
the
people.
crap.
We are building unlimited
I
apartments in
know.
this town.
We have the highest breast cancer rate anywhere, anywhere. When I had breast cancer 16 years ago, 16-year survivor this month. Woohoo! Careful what I drink. Um, I never had any family history. It wasn't because of my weight. It wasn't because of my family history. It wasn't. I didn't. I don't smoke. I you know, no, not the drinking isn't a problem. It's the water. And people 16 years ago used to say that it's something in the water. It's something in the water. Well, you'd laugh and shrug it off, but it's really, really true. It is the water, and people know about it.
It's the
I was
water.
at that last meet the candidate night, like maybe a year, 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago.
Leonick,
Um,
Jim Leonick,
yeah,
who
go
I
get a
voted
thousand
for.
dollar
I
water
know he told you to
bill.
get a water filter, but I voted for him.
But that was the first thing I asked everybody. Why does my water taste like crap? Why do I need to drink something else to wash down the water I just rinsed with from brushing my teeth? Why do I have this aftertaste in my mouth of bleach or chemicals, or it's something different every day?
Why does
I
my
never
skin
know
feel
what my
weird
mouth is going to
sometimes when I'm
taste
in the
like
shower?
after I brush my teeth.
Yeah. Why does my skin
Disgusting.
feel weird sometimes when I'm in the shower? I mean, I do my best to avoid drinking the water, but I'm still bathing in it.
We're still eating it. We're still boiling our water. We're still making our coffee. We're still making our pizza. We
Ice
need water.
cubes.
ice cubes, whatever it is. We need our water. And there are criminals out there who know exactly what they're pushing in that water. And they can afford their, $1,000, $2,000 water filters. I can't. I can't. I can't barely even afford the bottled water these days. It's really disheartening. It's really scary.
Just
You know,
drink the rum.
you keep going, you keep talking about it, and you sound like, a negative Nancy, and it sounds depressing.
The pirates used to drink the
But it
rum
is.
because if they drank the water, they would get scurvy or something, and so they had to drink the rum. That's why the pirates were drunk all the time, because they couldn't drink the water.
Yeah, you make an excellent point there.
Uh,
That's why.
Random piece of Jenny information. Okay, on to public hearing number 9. You'll love this one. The accessory apartment law. Public
Thank you,
hearing.
Joan.
I mean, this is the frontage one that we talked about on one of our previous shows.
Mm-hmm.
So they kept
Yep.
stating, of course, everybody gets up, the Ken Christensen's, the regular, usual, typical suspects that are always pushing it, keep stating that we need affordable housing. I've been hearing this for 10 years, and they have built housing
Yeah.
and built housing and built housing, and none of it has been affordable. So now they're going to force
Never going to
it
be
on us.
affordable.
They were supposed, well,
Unless
that's how
it's
they sold it to us, and then it's not affordable. And what they're not understanding is making this accessory law is not going to make it affordable, because the problem is not a lack of housing. The problem is the taxes are too high. And when you're renting your accessory apartment, you pass that on to your renters when your taxes go up. It's simple math. So I just kept hearing how we need affordable housing. We need affordable housing. This was my favorite comment of the night. They claim that this will legalize people already doing this. So there's people already breaking the law. Instead of enforcing the law through code enforcement, let's just legalize it so we don't have to deal with the problem.
Oh my God. And this is Joan pushing it
Well,
the
this is
hardest.
her resolution, and Chad did second it, and they have 90 days to vote on it. So I will be waiting for that. So we already have 1,682 known legal accessory apartments in the town, as per Hector Gavilia, who sits on the Affordable Housing Committee. So I'm taking what he said at face value as being a fact. That's the number I'm going to run with, 1,682. However, that does not include the illegal housing that they are already not enforcing, right? And it does not include all the apartments that are already down the pike and all the housing that they keep telling us we need housing, we need housing, we need housing. I have been hearing this for 10 years, and I have been watching them build and build and build and build and build. They are insatiable. It's never, ever, ever going to be enough for them. And I think we're all tired of fighting these projects individually. So basically, by making this accessory law, they're doubling the density in the entire township of Huntington, the entire town.
And not do anything about it.
And
like
right.
You said, just make it well, and it'll go away. Don't
Right.
worry about it.
I mean, we've already got a problem. What's the one thing that shoot, we covered it too. The one where you share a part of your house for a small fee, like you're a hotel.
I forgot what it's called.
I forgot what
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, people know what I'm talking about, and people use it all the time. But that's now creating a transient situation anywhere you want it. Anywhere you want it. So
yeah, it's like a legalized, or more than a legalized, bed and bath. It's just a free for all.
Yes.
Actually, it's just a free for all. Just have at it. It'll free up the town board meetings, because a lot of people half the people will be bitching about that because they can't.
You know what's incredible? They took the town board meetings at first and they made them twice a month. And we were saying, oh my God, they went from an hour and a half to 3 hours. And now they went back to once a month, and now we're up to 6 hours. It's like a full-time job for anybody just to come down there and speak. It is. So anyways, just a couple of quotes. Hector Gavilia said housing is unaffordable because high taxes, not because of lack of housing. He should know. He's a realtor. He knows what's in the stock in the stock that we have. And Jim McGoldrick, the real issue is lack of code enforcement. That's the problem. That's it right there.
That's huge. That's huge. We don't need public safety anymore. Why would we need public safety then? There won't be any enforcement. They don't need any enforcement.
Why not?
Everything's going to be legal.
The cesspools, they stopped requiring a permit in the town of Huntington for cesspools to be installed, not because they didn't think it was a good idea to inspect it and they were only $50. They were not, it wasn't a big deal, right? But because they had no one to inspect them. So they didn't want to they couldn't afford to pay somebody to go make sure that we're safe with these cesspools going in. And then they complain and say, but these cesspools are making our water quality go down. And then, right, the cesspools are making our water quality go down, which I think it's so many other issues than that. I think it's a toxic cocktail, but don't even get me started on that. But it's the cesspools, right? So what's your answer? Well, let's pass this accessory apartment law to make sure that there's more people on those cesspools to add more nitrates to the existing cesspools to leach more nitrogen into the soil. That's, I mean, they're just doing everything they can to aggravate this situation. They really are.
Like you said, toxic cocktail.
It's a toxic cocktail.
Might as well drink a bottle of Jack.
You might as well drink a bottle of bleach.
Yeah.
So
well, that's what my water tastes like. That's what my water tastes like most nights anyway. Or something unrecognizable. And I'm not just saying that. You know, a lot of those politicians up on that table, you know, I said, if you didn't have your nice little bottle of water there, you know, your plastic, would you drink out of the tap? Oh, you sure? I'll drink out of the tap. You're full of shit. Full of excuse me.
That's another thing. And I really look, I have my metal straw and I get I drink my sparkling water, especially since I say a lot of words very quickly when I do these shows. But how dare they ban plastic bags from me, but they're still allowed to drink out of plastic bottles. I call BS on that too. There's a lot of BS tonight. Okay, so we're 3 hours and 12 minutes finally into the town board meeting, and we finally hit the public portion. Ding, 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 ding. Now we get to hear what's wrong with the general public that's outside of the scope of what's on the agenda. So we start with Jeff Bartels. Jeff Bartels is pissed at Cuomo. He's very upset because there's no maximum level on the MCL levels, which we covered. Remember the MCL levels and a couple of others. So there's toxins in our water, okay? And there's not maximum levels that were passed by New York State Cuomo to say what's safe or unsafe. They've given no direction for certain things that are in your water. And I thought it was funny because Jeff, you said there's no media willing to cover what he's saying on town board meeting, and we're covering you, Bird Dog, for you, just so you know. He also claims that Nestle is lobbying. Nestle, who owns they own Poland Spring, they own a couple of other major companies, but he claims that Nestle is lobbying for higher levels in bottled water. Not just in the bottled water. They want to be able to say the safe levels for the bottled water, that we should increase that on a federal level of what's safe. So you also now have these companies lobbying to increase, instead of saying fix the friggin' water. So
sounds like the Hunger Games. Here, have a glass of water, dear.
So Ellie DeMille was up next. And she brought up such a good point when she first got up there. She said that how the meeting was run was a disgrace. And she's absolutely correct. There were people who did not sign up, and they were jumping up at the end of a topic to speak. There was one woman, Mrs. Mayer, who got up and wanted to speak and rebuke because she felt she didn't use her entire 3 minutes the first time. So she felt entitled to get back up and speak again. And as much as Chad kept trying to tell her, no, 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 she kept insisting she had some sort of right above any other citizen. Now she's that lady from 5G.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So anyways, Ellie was really right. Things like this are why we're now looking at 3 to 6 hour town board meetings, because the public needs to understand you get 3 minutes. You don't get to shout out from the audience. You just don't. You don't. These meetings are getting longer than they used to be this long just for controversial topics like a housing project, and then that, but then the other time, then things would settle down and then town board be an hour and you can go home. They're all now 3 to 6. Well, this is the longest one that I've seen. So Ellie got up, she talked about that. That took a lot of courage on her part because a lot of those people were still in the room. She said that we need to stop extending time, extra time. Ding, you're out. They need to find a way to just shut the microphone off. That's it. There no ding 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 ding.
Yeah,
there needs to be a buzz and the microphone goes silent. But she also spoke about lack of ADA compliance. Her and Mark got into it a little bit because she started to talk about Pickle Park and how Pickle Park is in Harbor Fields district, and she said that 2 of the town board members are from there, so she felt that that's the reason they did ADA over there, and he got very offended by that because he's from Harbor Fields.
It's not a problem.
So he argued with her.
You shouldn't be going at it with other people.
Yeah, it's her 3 minutes
with these meetings.
And that's another thing. You shouldn't be going at it. Let her say her 3 minutes and move on. Move on. So George Rees, he spoke. He signed up to speak, but because we're now well over 3.5 hours into the town board meeting, he was not able to say whatever he needed to say that he felt was important enough to go there. Jeanette Hope Salvito got up. She talked about Coventa and the cancer rates and how the quality of life is declining and that the homeless situation in Huntington is increasing.
Yep, I see that.
A
lot of them are living over in the off Pulaski on West Rogues Path and Oakwood Road.
I do see a lot more.
A lot of them are living in wood.
It used to be like we knew them. We knew that, oh no, she's mentally ill. Like we see her all the time, and people give them like we knew our homeless. Now we don't know our homeless anymore because there's much more than we used to have.
Yeah, there is. It's sad.
Sal De Ungolo spoke. No, he didn't speak either. You know why? He had to leave because he was there for so long. I guess he just couldn't take it anymore. But they did call his name. So Sal, we're so sorry that you went to the town board meeting and because it was so long, you were unable to voice your concerns about whatever your subject was on public record. Christine Kuhn, I love her. I do, from Fort Slonger Property Owners. We did a long special on them with everything. So she got up and she talked about the Crab Meadow watershed study. And she was concerned that this study has not been finalized yet. And the reason she was concerned is because there were recommendations in that report. And there was a pending DEIS for the project over at Fort Salonga Property Owners in reference to the pond and all that, that is being voted on tonight. And they, in fact, it's probably already, we'll have to circle back and update that hearing was at 5:30 and I couldn't listen to any more hearings today. But she was concerned that that had not been finalized. That was on May 29th because they were going to be voting tonight on the Fort Salonga, what do we call that project? There's so many going on right now that that's the condos, the ones that go to the cliff. I know we had like a 2-part episode on it too. So Kristen Calabrese. Oh, go ahead.
Indian Hills.
Thank you.
That's Indian
Hills Golf Course.
Indian Hills.
Thank you. Sometimes I draw a blank. Again, many words, many things to remember. It always comes back to us in a little while. But this is no different than when we have a conversation and we're like, oh, what was his name? Oh, how do you spell it? Oh, it's a 2-letter word. I don't know how to spell where or there. I can't spell there right. I get made fun of all the time.
F2. My daughter's always on my case because of that.
F2.
Always. I've never
Okay,
been good at
so
grammar.
Kristen Calabrese, she also became a victim of having to leave. I wrote these down because I wanted you to see how many people had to bail. And it was sad. Oh, Daniel Carpin got up. I believe this was the Daniel Carpin show part 4, he said, because he spoke on all the other town board, all the other subjects as well, which I tried to condense. Condensing this down, I mean, we have about another 13 minutes of the show, and we're doing pretty good so far. Woohoo! So Daniel, he spoke about the there's a public hearing on June 18th about rezoning 131 Spring Hill Road in the Huntington Village. He claims it's an illegal hearing since it belonged to the Water Authority, and they never did a SECRA. After they did the SECRA after the sale instead of before the sale, and because of that, it negated that the SECRA had been done wrong. And he also said that we need to have a hearing to completely eliminate the R3M zoning. He'd just get rid of it. And I believe if he said specifically with Crap Creek condos on Creekside condos on Creek Road, that the one that's on the protected water marshland, that specifically we have to, because if they're going to take it this far, to even consider building on this type of protected wetland, we just need to get rid of it. Enough of, they're building unlimited apartments. I see the signs everywhere. Sometimes I think I'm going the wrong way. It's wrong direction. Oh my God, turn around. No, sorry. And I'm so happy to see the signs wrong direction everywhere, because people are aware. But it is unlimited. It's unlimited apartments. It's insane. Somebody needs to fix this zoning code.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, so this was fun. You ready? Miss Mayor gets up to talk during the public portion about 5G. The first thing she does is apologize for asking to speak twice. She starts talking about volcanoes and lava of corruption overflowing to the land. And it was weird. Sorry, Mrs. Mayor, but it was weird. I wasn't sure what she was trying to convey there. She gets beeped for her time, and she said, I just need to finish my thought. And she tried to go on for at least another 30, 40 seconds. She went, wait, so first you apologize for jumping up several times and trying to speak again, but then you apologize and then you go way over your time. So it doesn't help your cause when you can't behave yourself.
Right.
Somebody else, I didn't catch her name because I was still in shock over Miss Mayor. I missed her name. She wants them to lobby the senators. She asked them, we need you to lobby Kristen Gillibrand, whose dad's involved in the NXIVM trial. And I can't wait to show you the episode I've been doing on that in the background. Oh, so, but anyways, and also Schumer, who's useless. She said, please, can you lobby us, because it's a federal thing and we can't, they're saying we can't stop it. And they explained that 2 months ago, not only did we tell you we already did that, but if you'd like, we'll give you the paperwork again.
Okay. More time ticking away.
More time ticking away over stuff that we've already covered. So then this guy, Vinny Gagliello, gets up and he was upset about, he submitted an RFP. He was upset about the whole RFP process. And he goes on, and they should have just stopped it right away. They should have stopped him right away. I agreed with everything he was saying about the RFP process, that we're allowing people from other states and stuff, and we should be considering our people first. And plus, the RFPs they were asking weren't specific enough. Like when we're talking about the phones, what type of conference phone, what type of this, they weren't being specific enough on what they were asking. So Mr. Cook interrupts him and he says, I want you to know I'm pulling that off the resolution tonight. And everybody else is like, yeah, you know what, we really we need to reword that. We're going to rework it. So we're pulling that off. We're not even going to be voting on that. But again, another incredible waste of time. So we're now 3 hours and 43 minutes into the town board meeting, and they start giving out scholarships, which should have been a separate event.
Of course, of course.
So we're now 4 hours and 48 minutes into the town board meeting when we finally resume town board business.
Ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
And a couple of things that I thought were really interesting that came about with this was, do you know the Chase Bank? So you're driving on New York Avenue, right? And there's Max Steakhouses on your right-hand side. You know the Chase Bank that isn't Chase anymore, right before Albert's Mandarin Gourmet?
Uh-huh.
Oh, we own that. We're going to own that. They're buying it for $3.2 million.
Why?
Well, they're going to make 74 parking spots there.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay.
So of course, then they get into this whole agreement disagreement because Mark Cuthbertson wants to add an amendment to the resolution stating that we're not allowed to add fees until we at least have a parking garage in. And then there's this big debate about, well, is it in or started? And then they negotiate. All right, how about if we add a year? So they're basically negotiating right there at the podium about how they're going to handle this. They did end up stating that they all voted yes, they want to buy this, they need the parking spot. They're going to put in an amendment that they cannot add to the parking that they create, that they cannot add any meters or fees until 2023. They didn't give a month or a date, or whichever came first, at which time a parking garage has started, and then they're allowed to start adding meters for you to pay.
Yay. And now we're at like what, 5 hours for the meeting?
I don't know, I fell asleep. So, and then there was this big discussion about appointing a deputy director for the engineering department. And the discussion started that Mark said he would vote for this if we removed the word deputy and just appointed this person who was highly qualified because he's an actual engineer as the director. And come to find out, the person who is the current director is an ex-Supreme Court judge.
Who?
I can't believe I agree with Mark. I don't know who, but all I know is there's an ex-Supreme Court judge who's the director of the engineering department. Everybody thinks he's doing a good job, but Mark's saying this guy's an actual engineer. He should be in charge of the department. So they park that. They put it at the end of everything. I don't know what they ended up doing with that. What I do know, though, is they voted to release an exploratory report on the acquisition of LIPA by eminent domain. And they released this to the Town of Huntington website yesterday. So they're allowing the public to read the exploratory report on the acquisition of LIPA by eminent domain. And this stands outside of the lawsuit with LIPA. So they're handling it as two completely different issues. And with that, I bring you the Town of Huntington meeting of 5 hours and 47 minutes in 55 minutes. Ta-da! Oh, I
You did
lost
a great job. Thank you very much.
Oh,
That was a lot of information.
a
A
lot.
lot of information that you covered.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching it. Thank you for suffering. Thank you for suffering for us.
Well, we live in Suffering County. I mean Suffolk County. We're Suffering County. Oh, goodness. So we're going to try to come back to you again next Wednesday with other exciting topics for you. We're doing the best we can with what we have in a very busy time of the year for anybody who has kids in school.
Oh
One thing
yeah, you guys are gonna be really busy.
it is so busy, but it's like the rebirth of everything. Like we have all of our baby eagles were born and now they're leaving the nest, right?
Mhm.
And it's so prophetic because we have all these kids that are graduating and they're leaving the nest, and it's that kind of time of year, and I just can't wait for summer. But yeah, we're back. We'll try to be back again next week, and we'll try to drag Dana back with us. I hope she's feeling better, but I miss her. So on that note, we hope everyone enjoyed tonight's Huntington View. Have a good evening, everyone.
Good night, everybody.